Redditors who have died and come back to life, what did you see? Overwhelming peace and happiness. A bright, airy, and floating feeling. I live a very stressful life. Imagine finding out the person you have had a crush on reveals they have the same feelings for you and then you win the lotto later that day. That was the feeling I had. I never feared death afterwards and am relieved when I hear of people dying after suffering with an illness. My dad's heart stopped when he had a heart attack and he had to be brought back to life. He kept the paper copy of the heart monitor which shows he flatlined. He said he felt an overwhelming sensation of peace, like nothing he had felt before. I almost drowned and I felt the same thing. Immense peace for some seconds. This is the feeling. My dad died for a couple minutes around 2015. He said he was driving his truck on the freeway, no traffic, just cruising. He came to when he heard one of the doctors calling his name. When he passed away 5 years ago, he was left brain dead. I told him it was okay to go and to just drive his truck. I had a line of duty injury in 2015 and had a sudden respiratory arrest leading to cardiac arrest and multiple days on a ventilator. I wound up inside an old movie rental store that we went to as a kid. It was the place my dad took us the day they told us my mom had cancer. We were restoring an old Bronco and it broke down, leaving us stranded with our Chinese food and movies until she came and got us. This time it was empty and dark. Bugs on the carpet, shelves empty. But the TVs were still playing those old previews they used to show. There was an emergency exit door, complete with alarm will sound, and through the window shone the brightest light imaginable. I thought about going out the door, but was so tired, so I lay down on the floor instead. I watched the previews for a while, was strangely comfortable, and fell asleep. When I woke up, I was intubated in the ICU. That was 8 years ago, 9 next June. I just remember feeling warm. So much so it felt like every inch of my body was wrapped in a fuzzy warm blanket and safe. I could leave or I could stay, and I still wonder what was beyond that door. Edited to add. I just remembered that the store also had the same large window front, and that the night outside was exactly the same, complete with broken down Bronco waiting outside. Never went near the front door though, just the emergency exit with the bright light shining through the window. And when I was diagnosed with a large pelvic tumor this year, I found a membership card from the video store at my parents' house. It now lives on a shelf in my living room. I beat death again, and I'll always have that card to remind me. Lots of hallucinations, sort of demonic. There was a lot of pain and darkness. Somehow it didn't seem real, more like a waking nightmare. I don't know how long it lasted. Then I experienced relief that it was over and the pain left. There was a bright light, but no tunnel or such. I came back to more normal hallucinations once they fixed me. Leading up to this event, I was also hallucinating. I vividly remember the room looking like it was flooded with water, down to fish. I was also delusional and rambled. My family had to say goodbye to me over the phone. Nobody thought I would live. Spent a week in pulmonary ICU to recover. Was absolutely horrible, would not do again. Not a confirmed death experience. This will take a minute, but let me explain. I used to have extremely, insanely vivid dreams that started in 2016. Everything that occurred in those dreams truly, 100% felt like reality. I was suspected to have sleep apnea, so I had a home test done for it. During that night, I had a dream that I was in pastel, airy clouds on a soft, transparent platform. I was sitting on the edge with an overwhelming sense of happiness. I felt safe. I vividly remember hearing a voice say in a reassuring tone say to me, "Go ahead, fall into the clouds. You're okay." I did just that, and an absolutely overwhelming feeling of peace rushed over me as I closed my eyes in those clouds. I woke up drenched in sweat and in an insane panic. I found out the very next day that my oxygen levels dipped into the 60s for 2 minutes, and during that time I began to go into ventricular tachycardia. It wasn't confirmed I died, but they said I came very close, and I was actually admitted to the hospital that day to observe me and run further tests. I was there almost 5 days. I truly think I died that night for a few minutes. And if I didn't, I am still incredibly lucky to have survived ventricular tachycardia and that degree of hypoxemia. I am no longer afraid of death, but the fear of the journey to death still spooks me. Thank you for reading if you got this far. When I was 15 and a half years old, I had a motorcycle permit and a small Honda that I rode daily. I was riding to high school on a back road and lost control and flew 20 feet over the handlebars. While I was in the air, time stood still and my life flashed before my eyes. Literally. My mind brought up these snapshots of my life one after the other. I can't tell you how many, but each one was very clear and recognizable. For example, one of the snapshots was my mom standing behind me pulling up my pants, dressing me when I was 3 years old. Your life really does flash before your eyes. Forgot to add, ended up in the emergency room with a broken collarbone. I drowned when I was 6 years old, 31 now. In a pond when I was left unattended by my parents and grandfather while fishing. Thankfully, my grandfather was somewhat nearby to notice I wasn't on the dock anymore. I remember the fear, agony, and taste of the water to this day and still get that panic if I choke on my spit or drink. They didn't know how long I was gone for, but my grandfather said it took about a minute to bring me back after he found me under the dock. As for my experience from the other side, I remember little flashes of light shortly after my panic stopped and vision faded in the already dark water. I then felt numbness, then nothing. Then, of course, the pain and panic and choking of being revived on the dock was about just as bad as the drowning. I didn't even want to go fishing. The event and explained experience ignited religion in my parents as they convinced me I went to hell, not heaven. I've been an atheist for years now and don't really have that fear of death anymore. Not me, but a close friend and coworker. He got T-boned by a car while on his motorcycle. Severed his femoral artery, completely exsanguinated by the time we arrived on a fire and rescue. Got him flown out to the nearest hospital. He was completely drained of blood for about 30 minutes, dead for about 20. DRs were able to get blood back in and his heart pumping, and he's alive and well today. Before the accident he was, I guess, an atheist. Had never thought of or mentioned religion. He said he walked through a forest with Jesus for a couple days. Talked about anything and everything like old friends. Finally he said, "How'd I get to heaven? I never was religious." Jesus said, "I know, that's why you're going back." And he woke up. The man changed 180 asterisk and is a devout Christian now. Thanks for listening to the end. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment. See you later.